Alright guys, welcome to another channel episode. Remember, this is a channel where we talk all about how you don't need to be a CEO in order to have some impact on the world. And today you're joining me for another episode in the series where I talk all about how I'm getting my Tensorflow certification. Now, as you know, we're getting a Tensorflow certification in the middle of also doing other things in our life, like I'm working on projects, I'm working on getting a job, and it just so happens to be that there's wild weather patterns right now in the United States. Places like Texas don't have any power, and in fact, I lost power last week as well for one day. Now this week, I'm going to talk all about our second course in the series. I'm taking this 4-part specialization, and I'm on the second part of that, and I'm also following Daniel's, which happens to be another YouTuber's kind of game plan, and I'm making videos about it along the way. If this sounds interesting to you, let me know and I'll continue making these videos. So just leave a comment or give me a thumbs up to know that you guys are enjoying this series, and let's get on to it. So I just got my iPad here and we're going to talk a little bit about what I learned this week. So as you see, I'm getting my TensorFlow certification, and let me scroll all the way down to the bottom. And so here you see my logs. And so, of course, last week I did all of course 1, but now I'm on course 2, and this week I only managed to get week 1 of course 2 and week 2 of course 2. I did that February 18th and also the 20th. And so that's all I managed to do last week because I was really busy with other stuff. And so let me just go into a little bit what I learned in each one. Alright, so here's where I keep my notes. And so right here you see that I have the first 4 weeks of the first course done, and then I have the second weeks, week 2 and week 1 and week 2 of the second course. And so if I just open that up right now, you get to see that I worked on more CNNs. Of course, most of this has to do with CNNs, but we learned a little bit about how to handle big data and how to get big data from your computer or from a website into your model. And so we managed to write some code on how to make directories using Python in Jupyter Notebooks and how to manage that, which was really fun and it's great to know. A lot of software engineering in there too. We also learned about a new data set called the cats and dogs. So here you're classifying whether it's a cat or a dog, which is great because you can be like cats versus dogs, which is a meme. And so we also learned a little bit about validation accuracy as well, but that's more second week. So as you can see here, this is some of the code that I copied and I kept in order to memorize it and practice it. I already knew this, but it was good refresh. Also created a custom data pipeline basically in order to make sure I get some of the data and reserve it for our test, kind of like creating a holdout. And that's done in Python. You basically just do, you have let's say you have a data set in one folder, you get anything that's, named cat, and you put into the cat folder, and then you break up that cat folder, you shuffle it, then you break it up into training and validation. And so that's basically what this code does. I did that for the cats and I did that for the dogs. And so, as you can see here, we did a testing to see if it actually was a file that had data in it, and if it did, we moved it and we shuffled it, and then we split it into the validation holdout or the training. Awesome, so that's what we did here, and that's kind of what we did in week 1. Moving on to week 2, I spent a couple of days in between these 2 weeks where I just had to handle personal business and also working on some interviews that I had. But I managed to get up to week 2, which is perfectly fine. And we talked about augmentation to help training and validation. So this was all about data augmentation, like flipping the image, rotating it, smearing it, and filling it, and things like that, which is awesome. And it actually helps decrease the overtraining that might happen with the training data set, and you don't get so wild, really biased answers in your validation or using real world data. you might not get such good, answers because your model might have overfit towards, memorizing just the cats and dogs that it had in the training set. So by being able to flip it up, you manage to kind of trick the model and give the model more to train on. Also, it allows the model to be able to accept images of, let's say, instead of a dog standing up like every dog in the training set was, you can have some dogs that are flipped upside down. So you might have a dog that's laying on the floor and it might be upside down. The owner took a picture of it upside down. You might need to go back and turn that around, if you know what I mean. So this way the model can accept all sorts of images and all sorts of orientations. But also, one of the major reasons you do this is to be able to increase your validation accuracy and kind of decrease the training a little bit in order not overfit so much. So that's kind of what we did week 2. If I just open up this section to see, we learned all about how to do the image augmentation on images coming into the model and not ever affect our data set. So we keep the data set the same. We don't mess with that. We only mess with the images that are coming in. We also learned all about how to plot the training and validation accuracy. As you see here, I have both the accuracy and the loss over each epoch labeled, and so this would be 100 epochs on the x-axis, and on the y-axis I have the accuracy. And as you can see in this one, this is a good example, right? This is after we fixed everything and we introduced data augmentation. You can see that the training and validation move together and they're very close, and they do start to get really close together towards the end. And so that's much better than what we would have had if we didn't. The graph would look a little bit more like the training just straight up, kind of how it is now, but the validation would stay really low and never manage to get up. And so here, when they come together, you're not overtraining and you have just the right amount of data augmentation. And in the loss, you can kind of see the same thing. Towards the end there, you can see how the validation starts to really be really volatile. And what I would have done there is I would have stopped training a little bit sooner. But it looked like it did an okay job anyways. So, the random elements are probably what caused that. Oh, and here we have the picture actually of what it looks like when the training in the validation, you don't have any kind of noise in your data set, and they just, you overtrain your training set, you overfit your training set, and the validation set just kind of goes nowhere. Cool. That's kind of what we learned in week 2. Yeah, awesome. And unfortunately, yeah, again, I didn't get to week 3 and week 4 in this week of the episode, but be sure to check out my next episode because I'll definitely do week 3 and week 4, and because that's what I'm focusing on this week the most, I think, so I'll be able to have some time to finish those up. Yeah, so that's done with this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode where I talked all about what I learned this week trying to get my Tensorflow certification. Again, if you guys enjoyed this video, please like or give me a comment. Tell me what you learned this week or what you want to see in future episodes. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.